Hello friends, my friend Brandy over at the DIY Struggle sent me some beautiful decoupage papers, some paintbrushes, some wood embellishments, and some stencils, and I cannot wait to show you what I made with them. So let's get crafting.
Here is the package that Brandy sent over to me, the beautiful goodies. These are the wood embellishments that she sent, and I can't wait to show you what I created with one of them. They are such high quality. These are the fan brushes that she uses to decoupage with, and I know why they are her favorites because I love them too. I'm going to show you some of the decoupage paper that she sent me. What a beautiful blue owl. They are very high quality. The prices are very affordable. I suggest that you go over to her website and check out all of her products that she has. Look at that beautiful bee and the honeycomb and the hive. This paper has 4 different images on it. This is beautiful. Look at this Bingo ephemera decoupage paper. She's got it in multiple sizes with multiple images, lots of different colors. This is probably my favorite. I love it. Beautiful birds in lots of different colors. And this one we are going to use today. So stay tuned. Also, she sent me these stencils that she created. There are 2 sheets of it, and we're going to use that today too. Be sure to check out her channel if you are not familiar with her, and her website for all these products. I'm going to be using this little mini cutting board that I had used in a previous project. I just sanded it down to start over for this project. Today we are going to be using this little bingo card with the sunflower and a bird on it. I chose this one because I liked it. So I'm just going to cut it out, and I thought that I was going to just decoupage it on here as is. So I got my Mod Podge out, got it ready. I even spritzed my decoupage paper down with a little bit of water. And then I realized I wanted to paint this little cutting board first, because I was afraid that the image might get lost in the wood and you wouldn't be able to see it that great. So I took some vintage linen by DIY and just gave it one good coat, and just the top. I didn't paint the sides or the back, just the top. And then before it got completely dry, I took some faded burlap by DIY and offloaded a little bit of the paint, and then just kind of streaked it and blended it through there just to make it not so stark. It just kind of dirtied it up a little bit, grunged it up a little bit. And then I took the IOD vintage texture stamp and some stone gray ink, and we're going to give this little cutting board some texture. I took the ink and just pat it on there. Never rub your stamps. Always pat them up and down, and then just flip it over and give it a little press. Don't move it, just straight up and down. And then there was a little piece at the top that didn't get any ink. So there was some ink we didn't use. So that's how we fixed that. I'm going to be sure to clean that up with a wet wipe right away to take good care of our stamps because we pay good money for them. And look at that beautiful crackle that stamp gave this piece. Okay, now we can wet down our paper again. And then we are going to use this method that I learned from Brandy at the DIY Struggle. And I also have seen my friend Sammy use this method. But this fan brush Friends, this fan brush, it's amazing. So just put down your Mod Podge and then a little Mod Podge on top. And with that decoupage paper being a little bit wet, it was amazing. Now I'm going to use this little finger sponge with a little bit of that ink on it, that gray ink, stone gray ink, and just smudge up the edges a little bit. Going to wrap a little piece of jute around, tie it in a knot, and then this one is going to be finished. But we are going to make this two-sided because we like two-sided projects on this channel. So we're just going to snip those little ends off to the length that we think looks good. We're going to flip it over, and we're going to take Aviary. It's a beautiful green color by DIY, and we're going to just paint that square area in the middle of this little cutting board. And you can see there, I didn't get that on camera, but you all know how to paint. I'm going to dry it with my heat gun, and just like that, with the magic of editing, it is dry. I'm going to take this beautiful stencils that BRANDI created, and I have seen her cut her stencils up on her channel, so no fear, I'm not worried about cutting it. I'm going to keep it in a little plastic sleeve so it doesn't get lost. I'm going to tape it down with some painter's tape, and I'm going to try this method that I've seen a lot of people do. I've just never tried it myself. I love Saltwash as an additive to paint to make it thicker and give it texture. So I'm going to take about a teaspoon of the Saltwash and put it in a cup. I'm showing you here, it comes with this little scoop and it has little markings in there. And then I'm going to take some Aviary, the same color as the background. I'm going to mix it really well with a popsicle stick. And then I'm going to use that same popsicle stick to smear it onto my stencil. I've always been very leery because I was afraid that once I started putting that on there and smearing it around, that it would seep underneath the stencil. But it did not. I was very careful to kind of go with the design, but I put a nice thick layer on there and smoothed it out evenly. And then I took an old stencil brush and I just stippled all over the top of it and pounced to give it some texture. And then I said a little prayer, crossed my fingers, and peeled the tape. Lifted up the stencil and wait until you see the results. It is absolutely gorgeous. Nothing seeped. Nothing bled. It's just beautiful and I'm happy. Now I'm going to take some clear wax by DIY. Now I get all my DIY products, Saltwash, IOD products from Sammy over at Unicorn Dust Designs. She has a beautiful website as well. It's www.unicorndustdesigns.com. So if you're interested in any of the products that you see me using here or any other products that are by IOD, DIY, or Saltwash, go ahead and go over there and check out her website. Both websites that I mentioned in this video today will be in the description box below. I'm going to take some white wax by DIY and just very lightly, gently go over just the raised area. And then I'm very, very gently with a very light hand wiping a little bit of it back. A tiny little twine bow up top and we are done.
I hope that you're enjoying this video and all the beautiful things that BRANDI sent me. If you are new to my channel, hello, my name is Kendra, you're watching Late Night Creations, and I'm so glad that you clicked this video. But now let's get back to crafting. This little decor piece is from a project I started once upon a time and never finished.
I purchased it, I believe, at Aldi, and it was a two-sided decor piece. And I painted it, I believe, with skeleton key, and just never finished it. Now, I'm going to use this beautiful decoupage paper, and I wanted to use the part where that clock was, but you'll see I changed my mind. I'm going to paint the top side with faded burlap. I'm going to open this up, and I wanted to use the clock, but when I put it on there, I couldn't really get the clock and the butterfly without getting the flower, and I didn't want to cut the flower in half and leave half of it for next time. I was trying to be mindful of what I was leaving behind. I don't want to be wasteful because this paper is way too beautiful to waste any of it. So I decided to go to a different area on the paper. And I love that clock, and this just worked out perfectly. So I just pressed it where I needed it, the part that I needed, and then I folded it. And then I'm going to take a paintbrush with some water and go over those lines with a pretty heavy amount of water because we're going to rip it, because that's the look I'm going for. So once I get it all nice and wet, I'm going to use a cheap putty knife that I picked up, I'm pretty sure, at Dollar Tree, and probably a long time ago. And I'm just going to use it to help me rip the paper so I get a nice ripped edge, but rip it evenly, an organized rip. And then I'm going to take Mod Podge. I'm going to apply it with this fantastic fan brush, a fantastic fan brush. Did you catch that? Oh, everybody wants to be a comedian. Okay, I'm going to wipe off the excess around the edges because there's always a little drippage, and we don't want that. And then we're going to wait. We're going to let that completely dry. It was a beautiful day in Texas today, so I let it dry outside. And then I'm going to place my decoupage paper right where I want it. I'm going to use a little parchment paper to protect it, and I'm going to use my little mini heat press. You can use whatever kind of iron you want. Just make sure that you have no steam. This is going to reactivate that Mod Podge and make that decoupage paper one with our project. Absolutely gorgeous. Now I'm going to use that finger sponge to grunge the edge up just a little bit, but you'll see later in the project we're going to use some dark wax on there, so it didn't really matter. Now I'm going to use this beautiful wood embellishment. I'm going to paint it with a little black dress, give it one coat, and it's absolutely beautiful. Can I say absolutely beautiful one more time? Because I'm in love with this little wood embellishment piece. Thank you, BRANDI. Now, it's all painted, and it's beautiful just like this. But we are not leaving it like this. No, 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 no. We are going to add some Iron Patina Paint by Dixie Belle, because we're going to make it a little rusty crusty. But I'm not going to paint the entire piece with this. I'm just going to give it a light coat in some areas and a heavier coat in some areas and no coat in some areas. No rhyme or reason to it, just where I think I want it rusted. So you see I'm just kind of dabbing the paint on here and there, and just lightly in some places and heavier in some places, because I want it to look rusty in some places and I want some of that black to show through. Now I'm going to take the patina green spray, and well, I have to open it up first. It doesn't spray when it's closed. I'm just going to spray a little bit on my little tin cookie sheet here. I love using these tin disposable cookie sheets from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use this stiff paintbrush and just dip it in that liquid and dab it. Then I'm going to dry it with my heat gun, and it turns out absolutely gorgeous. I think it looks like some rusted wrought iron, which is exactly what I was going for. I'm going to place it on here so you can see where it's going to go. I'm going to place it just like that. But first we're going to flip it over, and we're going to work on this because, oh, we like double-sided projects on this channel. This is a piece of resin that I had poured some time ago, and we're going to use it today with the Countryside Memoirs stamp. This is the new collection for 2025 from IOD, and we are going to paint it in. We're going to paint the little medallion, little piece here, whatever you want to call this little thing, with crinoline. Now I'm going to take the stamps that I'm choosing. I had to prime it with my sandpaper because I haven't used them yet. I'm going to place them where I want them on here, and then I'm going to take the little plastic, a little piece of plastic sheet right here, and I'm going to press it down on there. Now it's going to be exactly where I want it. And then I'm going to take my black ink and again just tap, tap, tap very carefully, no rubbing, tap, tap, tap. And then I'm going to make sure that I don't have any excess around the edges, or I'm going to clean it up with a baby wipe, and I didn't. I did a really good job. So then I'm going to just hover it till I get it where I want it, and then I'll press it down. Hold it with one hand. I'm holding it right there with my left hand, and then I'm going to press it with my right hand. I'm pressing with my left fingers, and yay, it looks great. Clean it up with a wet wipe. Then I saw a little blank space. See, I'm cleaning that edge up where I got a little ink overage, and I'm just going to ink part of the stamp. And then I'm going to glue it to the inside of my little shadow box. I'm going to glue a little bow that I made. I got this ribbon at Sam's Club. They have it every spring. I've had this big roll for a couple years. I was in Sam's Club today, and I saw it there again this year. So do not pass up the ribbon at Sam's Club. Now we're going to flip it back over. We're going to use some Tite Bond Quick and Thick. My favorite glue. If you haven't tried it, please give it a try. You will love it. And a little bit of hot glue for a quick fix. Place it down where we want it, and this project is complete. I purchased this little wooden watering can decor piece either on Whatnot or at the thrift store. I cannot remember, but it is cute. And we're not going to do a whole lot to it, not going to paint it. I'm going to just use this beautiful piece of decoupage paper on it. And it's going to make it look 10 times better, 100 times better. I'm going to use that same method with the wet paintbrush to rip the edges of this, and going to rip the edges that we didn't even have to tear to the outside edges because I want that ripped edge look. I like that. Now, when I put it on the watering can, I need it to go around that little handle part. So I'm just going to put it up there. I'm going to wet that part. I'm just going to rip it. It's going to look like it belongs on there. Look at that. Would ya look at that? And then we're going to use the same method. We're going to wet that decoupage paper. We're going to lay it on there. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to lay down some Mod Podge, smooth it out on top. Lay down some Mod Podge, smooth it out on top. And that decoupage paper is it's a little bit wet, so it's soaking this up. And this is a rough surface, so this decoupage paper is like going down in those little crevices of the wood, and it just, oh, it's so beautiful. I wish you could see it in person. It's so pretty. Okay, now this is a new mold from IOD. I'm using a little bit of cornstarch in it because we're going to use some DOS air dry clay. And I'm just going to squish it up in my hands, roll it around a little bit, get it nice and warm in my hands so it's nice and pliable. And then I'm just going to press it with my fingers and my thumbs and just kind of rub off the excess. I don't know what I did there, but whatever. And then just rub off the excess. And it has like a little micro edge, a little ledge, if you will. And it helps you be able to just kind of wipe it. When you wipe it off there, it just sort of stops. It's perfect. Then I have this little tool. I'm not sure where I got this little yellow tool. You can use an old gift card, an old credit card. It would work just as good. But this little tool works really nice. It's like an old putty knife or something too. But I like to use it to scrape over the edge to make the back of it smooth and level. And then it also gets rid of all the little crumbs on the edges. So this works really nice. Just one nice little swoop, and then we're gonna turn it over, and you do not have to wait for this to dry in the mold. Turn it over, and well, I lost a little part of the branch, but no fear, that's okay. We'll just pull it out, and when we put it on our birdhouse, or this is not a birdhouse, this is a watering can, we'll just glue it to it. I'm gonna use the Type Bond Quick and Thick in this little spatula and put it on there, glue it down, and then we're going to glue this little branch that broke off, and we'll just glue it right up there where it's supposed to be, and nobody will know unless you tell them that it was broken. We're just going to mash it in there. Now I have a bunch of different paint colors here. I have Cake Batter, I have Queen Bee, and I have Liquid Sunshine, all by DIY. And I'm just using a little bit of all of them on this bird. And then I'm using Weathered Wood for the twig, the branch. And it was really hard for me to get on camera painting it because my head would get in the way. But I also put a ribbon on the handle off camera. But this is how this little watering can turned out. And of course, it would not be a Late Night Creations video if we did not have spindles. These spindles came off of a Jenny Lynn changing table, and I'm going to use my little teeny tiny mini miter saw to cut them. And I'm going to cut them all to the sizes that I want. I'm showing you how fun this little thing is. You just plug it in. You can secure whatever you're cutting with your little clamp down there. You turn it on. It has this little safety feature. You have to push that button to be able to pull it down. Now, my blade didn't quite go all the way through, so I just turned it around, swiveled it, and then I'm checking to make sure that it's going to hit that in just the right spot. Turn it on, and then pull that down, and voila, perfection. So I took all my little spindles over there and cut them down, and we're going to make a spindle cross. You might remember the spindle Christmas tree I made at Christmas, so I'm making a cross that I can keep up year round. Now, I tried to sand them, but that white paint was on there, stuck like Chuck. So I took this citrus strip, I sprayed those things down really good on this little aluminum cookie sheet, and then I covered it with press and seal. And I waited about 3 hours. I timed it for about 3 hours, not 3 days, 3 hours. And I came back, and this stuff works really good. There's no fumes, and it's no harsh chemicals. And so I started just being able to wipe this off. Now, I did end up getting out some mineral spirits because it was a little bit sticky, and I couldn't handle the sticky. So I got the mineral spirits out, and I just poured some on that cookie sheet, and then I kept dipping my paper towel in it and then just wiping it off. And then I ended up rinsing them, and then I let them dry overnight. And then when I came back, I just gave them a really light little sanding, and they were perfect. I did want some of that white still on there. Oh yeah, I did. On some of them, I did go ahead and use this little tool and scrape it off because it was a little bit easier. So you see, I did want some of that white paint on there because I do want them to look rustic. So this is what they look like after I did all that work. It went by pretty fast. It really wasn't that bad. And then I just took my little finger sander and just lightly kind of sanded over them a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. And then I'm going to wipe them off, get them all nice and dust free. And then I'm going to take white wax by DIY and give each one of them a nice healthy coat. Now I thought I was just going to wipe them all back right away, but I decided that I was going to give them all a nice good coat and then get in all those little nooks and crannies and then just let them wait and then let it dry on there. And I did come back and try to buff them out a little bit later. Okay, this was before I did any of that paint removal when I was saying this is how they all were when they were cut, because now I'm going to glue these two wood rounds together. They're kind of thin, and I prefer them to be a little thicker. So I'm going to take my Titebond Quick and Thick, and I ordered these wood rounds from Amazon, and so you get several in a package. I'm going to use a little spatula, a little silicone spatula, and just spread that glue all the way out to the edges. Make sure it's really good around the edges. That in the center is going to be fine, but I really want it really good around the edges. I'm going to make sure that it's all nice and straight. I'm going to use these little clamps that I get at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to clamp it all the way around. Then I'm going to set it aside to dry, and I worked on those spindles, getting all that paint off. Then once I was ready, I went and got that, and now I'm going to use the DIY Cottage color in Americana. This is a really pretty color, and I'm going to give it, I think I gave it 2 coats. No, I think I gave it 1 coat. I don't remember. I'm going to use the Dark and Decrepit to distress this a little bit. I used an old beat up nasty chippy brush. I've misused this, left it in the water way too long when I needed to rinse my brushes, and it is nasty. Gross and ugly, but it works great for distressing. So I'm just kind of dry brushing this on here to make it, and I'm going with the wood grain so it looks like so. Now I wish I would have sanded it down a little bit before I glued these on, but I did sand it down a little bit after. I don't know if I got that on camera or not. Now I sanded the bottoms of these because I did have that wax on there, and I wanted them to be able to adhere, and then I didn't want them rolling around everywhere, and I wanted some flat surface. So I had multiple reasons for sanding that, but that was really easy because this wood is pretty soft. Okay, I'm going to use Titebond and hot glue so that I get that quick hold from the hot glue and the good permanent hold from the Titebond. I'm not going to show you how I glued this whole cross on, but I am going to show you a few pieces. Now I would recommend measuring because I did not measure my top pieces and they were not centered, and when I got done the cross was wonky and I had to go back and rip off, use the heat gun to heat up that hot glue and rip off those top few pieces and measure and reset them down. So I do advise measuring, even though we think we can eyeball it and it looks good. Sometimes you just need to measure. So I just went at it. This was a really fun project. I love the way it turned out. I hope that you like it as much as I do. I got this Jenny Lynn changing table on Facebook Marketplace. And here's the finished product.
That's it for this video, my friends. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please don't forget, thumbs up, comment in the comments down below, even if it's just an emoji. I love to know that you're watching. But most of all, I want you to remember to be still and know that He is God.